everyone. You're listening to the If It Was a Book podcast, the show that takes real life stories and rewrites them into what would happen if it was a book. For people who love reading, writing, pop culture, and general ADHD chaos. Today I am joined by author Ava Rani. Hi, Ava.
Hello.
Friend of the pod, been on
Friend
it
of the
before.
pod, yes.
So, Ava, welcome back. You have
Thank
a brand new
you.
book coming out. Poisoned Ivy
I
is coming out.
do.
It'll be out
Baby.
this Friday, October 17th.
Yes.
And you may already know Ava from the Biotech Billionaire series, which I've also read and loved.
Oh,
But we've got a brand new one, the first one that's set taking place at a college. I've seen it promoted as sort of a Gilmore Girls meets Maxton Hall, and I did finish it, and I would agree with that. But Ava, how would you describe your newest release?
So I'm torn because it's definitely Maxton Hall in that they don't like each other when we start the book. But I think it's more definitely Rory Gilmore's college years, very specifically, like hyper specifically, the Life and Death Brigade.
Yes.
But kind of crossed with Never Have I Ever if Davy went to college. We got to see the college years, because I'm like, the level of mess that the main character, the female lead, Malina, gets into is just like very Devi, Vishwa Kumar level, like messiness. Just kind of not upset that she's a mess, kind of leans into it and very unapologetic about it, being like, I kind of have to do this. So like, we're just going to roll with it. And she very much comes along with like a friend group that's like helping her out, like kind of helps her cover up her like little schemes. But yeah, Poisoned Ivy is essentially a college romance that takes place at a fictitious Ivy League university, Winchester University. It looks eerily like Yale. It's not Yale. It looks like Yale though. Sounds a lot like Yale. Has a secret society based like a lot of the Ivies do. And basically we start with our main character, our female lead, Malina, who needs to essentially win like a feature writing contest at the newspaper because Malina, as any other regular college student would, lives a double life. Her parents are like very controlling. And so they want her to like have like her location settings on for her phone at all times. And they kind of monitor everything she buys and like really have tight control over like everything she does, right? So anything she does do, they'll know about. And so she kind of gets around this by like having a private bank account that she funds through like tutoring and other off the table money, and with a burner phone that kind of is the phone she takes around. And kind of uses geohacking really to basically live two lives, be like college Malina who does what she wants and home Malina who does what her parents want. And she kind of hits a snag right when we start the book. She doesn't have any way to fund it because her tutoring job kind of falls through. And so she's like, I'm going to win this feature writing contest at the paper. I'm a great writer. Like, I'll do this. And serendipitously, she gets an invitation to a secret society for her roommate, Sabrina.
Yes.
Who is away all semester doing a semester abroad. And Sabrina is like from a political royalty type of family. They're modeled after the Kennedys. So Sabrina like obviously gets an invitation to a secret society. And Mal, her first instinct is like, I'm going to steal this. I'm going to go in Sabrina's place. Like everyone's fine. She like tells her friends and they're like, this is a great idea. And she's like, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to get all the information I need. I'm going to write a cool piece. I'm going to win this award. I'm going to keep living a double life and like never confront the fact that like I don't feel comfortable being myself around my family. Right. She's like, this is what we're going to do. And so she does it. Fortunately, Malina is Indian American. She does not look anything like her blonde roommate. And so she is kind of hinging her entire like going into someone else on getting enough information very quickly and leaving. And so as we expect, she gets caught very quickly in the night when she like takes Sabrina's invitation and goes to their first secret party. And she is caught by the gorgeous, underachieving legacy student, Conrad Hastings, who looks like, acts like, and kind of is Logan Huntsberger. For anyone who's watched Gilmore Girls, the similarities are jarring.
They're both on the paper together.
They're both on the paper together. Logan's
His dad's a newspaper
owns a media company. Conrad doesn't do anything. It's giving Logan Huntsberg like whoop and like drop him in a book. And so Conrad, who is essentially Logan Huntsberger, needs a byline on the paper because he literally just gets by school by like bribing people to do his work for him. And he thought he'd do that this year, gets caught. His dad kind of gives him this ultimatum and he's kind of backed into a corner. So Malina uses that knowledge, knowing that he does nothing for the paper and that his father is kind of like on his ass about it, and strikes a deal with him. She's like, let me come to a few events. I'll write something. You can like read it. I'm not going to write anything scandalous, but I want to know about the secret society and write about it because like I can write a feature that's like centered around like the myth of the meritocracy, right? And Conrad kind of reluctantly agrees, but he's like, she's going to do the work for me, and like, this kind of solves my problem, and I'm not going to try any harder to solve my own problems. So this works, right? And so they have a couple of events together, and kind of as they're going through like what the secret society is and what she's allowed to know, they stumble upon this like art forgery mystery that is basically being run through the catacombs underneath the school. The only people who have access to these catacombs are people in the secret society. And so it suddenly becomes this what's going on? Who's committing these art crimes? How's it being done? Who are our suspects? And so as they're going through and unraveling this, obviously, they start falling for each other. They go from enemies to friends to lovers type arc. But all the while, we know Malina is two different people, right? And so they eventually have to collide. It happens in a very messy way because Malina is messy. And so, she's very Devi Vishwakumar in that sense, where she's not going to do the right thing until forced. And so
Yeah.
all of that kind of spirals around, and they both have to confront a lot of their own demons while figuring out who actually is committing these crimes and then what they want to do about it once they figure it out. So come for the mystery, stay for the swoony emotional angst. It is a lot angstier than I expected it to be. I thought it was supposed to be a lot like originally when I was writing it, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like super like funny and bantery. And it is in the beginning, and it gets like super angsty towards the end. And I'm like, oh.
But it's also sweet, like that he does a lot of stuff for her, which she eventually returns the favor on. But like he makes sure that no one hangs out in the catacombs when he wants her to have a place to study.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a whole scene in that library that's under the school that, there's a ladder behind you, and there's a ladder there too.
I got ideas. Sometimes I look at furniture, I can do something with this.
There is a scene in the book where they hook up on a library ladder.
Yes.
So there's actually a couple of different libraries that they hook up in.
Yeah, this is a library heavy book.
This is a library heavy book, for sure, for sure. So that one comes out on October 17th. So Ava, as you know, this podcast is a little bit different from most, where we actually give listeners a little peek into your writing and brainstorming style by taking a real story and rewriting it into what would happen if it was a book. And I think that instead of a story, you wanted to take sort of a premise that's going to be in your next book, but write something a little different here today.
Yes, let's do that. Let's rewrite a book that's already written. We can't change it now.
It's already out there. It's coming out in May, but
yeah, the publisher's already got the galleys out, guys. It's not changing.
Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about like the tropes or the idea that you wanted to work around?
Okay, I want to do a high-powered, very ambitious female lead.
Okay.
I'm thinking surgeon, someone who kind of like dedicates her life to her work. And this female lead, her want is to get a +1 to a wedding, but not just any +1, a +1 that will make her ex's like skin melt off, because her ex, she finds out, is going to be at this wedding, this very like ritzy wedding. Her ex is going to be there. So she like needs a date, and she needs her ex that she is sure that she is not still into. She just needs him to be wildly jealous and just rue the day he ever broke up with her. And so she has to recruit someone to do that. So from there, we can go anywhere.
Okay. So I know that in your book that's going to come out in May, this person is an athlete. And I still think that that's a possibility here. But if we're really just trying to hurt the ex, I think that a really good answer here would be someone that like a childhood friend, or someone that just, don't worry about them, like nothing would ever go on, and he's always like secretly upset about this person.
Or his dad. Sorry.
Or his dad! Yeah, we could have her hook up with his dad.
We don't have to do it. My writer brain sometimes is like, hey, let's do this. And I'm like, no, come back here.
Okay, how about instead of his dad, what if we do his brother, who is like kind of the golden child, and like has so he's already like very not upset, but like very competitive with this brother.
Yes, I love that. Okay. Better.
No, I love it.
We're wrecking the family either way. So that's
yes, exactly.
So I'm happy. Okay, we probably need names for these people.
Okay, let me get my notebook so that I know who everybody is.
I actually use 2010s to like 2016 TV shows with rich people in them to get all of my names. And so that is why he's named Conrad, because there's a character named Conrad in the show Revenge that takes place mainly in the Hamptons. And so that is where I get all of my names from. Marcus is from Gossip Girl. I believe Henry is from Gossip Girl. Like all of my character names are from rich people on TV. But this one
Okay.
kind of worked out where I guess Conrad was originally from the books, but also in TV now.
So then to go with that, how about Seth Cohen as our male lead?
Okay.
He's rich. I don't know.
He is. He is. And I mean, we're thinking like Seth Cohen, like OC.
Yes.
Okay, like I'm like trying to remember him in my brain. Okay, yeah, I love that. So
Or
is
it
he
could
the
be the
ex? Oh, I don't want him
That's
to
up
be
to
the
you.
ex.
Do you want him to be the ex or the
He
the
should be the
main
brother.
guy?
He should be the
He should be.
brother.
Okay.
Seth is so nice.
Okay, so we've got Seth as our male lead, who is the brother of the ex. So what's his adoptive brother in the OC's name?
His real name is Ben. In the OC, it's gosh, I don't know.
It could be Ben.
It could be Ben. Let's just do Ben.
Yeah, we'll do actor name.
All right, X is Ben.
X is Ben. So who's our main character?
Happy
Our
Summer.
high-powered woman.
Oh,
Summer. We could do Summer and Seth.
that makes me no. I don't want that for them. It's going to mess it up in my head. I don't like it. Let's do a completely different show, but of that era. Oh, Brooke.
Mm-hmm.
Brooke, as in Brooke Davis.
Love Brooke.
Okay,
Brooke Davis, my queen.
I know, I love her. Random sidebar. That is actually where I got the idea for the man bracket in Poisoned Ivy. It was from Brooke Davis's fantasy boy draft from
Right.
One Tree Hill.
He's on the wall, Peyton.
The wall. And that's how they know who's going to screw who.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Organized.
Yes. Okay. So we've got Brooke, we've got Seth, we've got Ben. Whose wedding is it?
We'll say it's Haley's wedding.
Hey, love.
Haley
and Nathan are getting
married. And if we want a villain, female villain, they should be named Peyton.
I do kind of hate Peyton, so I'm okay with that. Okay, so Peyton's dating Ben.
Yes. I really hope we're not losing listeners by just going off on such a wild tangent. I guarantee you it gets better. Just wait. Let us cook.
We just have to set up the framework, and then we can go from there.
Okay. So Nathan and Haley are getting married.
Right.
Brooke is the maid of honor.
Okay.
Her ex, Ben, is bringing this beautiful new woman who he's like very quickly engaged to, right? Peyton. And like he was very like commitment-phobic with her, but now suddenly it's like, I'm ready to be married. He's getting married. And so now Brooke is stuck. She's like, I need a date to this wedding. And it's going to be his brother, Seth, right? That would just kill him because Seth is like wildly successful. Ben and Seth are, well, they have jobs, I'm sure. Seth is a doctor. No, Seth's not a doctor. Let's make Seth something else. Seth is a lawyer. He talks a lot.
Okay.
So he's like a really like successful attorney. And he's just kind of like skating on like mommy and daddy's money. They have to be rich because I wrote it. It's like a rule.
Yeah.
And so Ben's just kind of like a ne'er-do-well. Peyton is a socialite, let's say. And Brooke is like very successful. She's a doctor. And so she like gets to, we need to set them up. We need a meet cute for Seth and Brooke. And so I think it should be,
I feel like they would be at like a gala or some sort of charity thing that they're both invited to.
Ooh, like an auction.
Okay.
Like a charity auction. Okay. This isn't the book. So Avon's going to be like, hey, you can't do this.
Well, okay, so so it's an auction.
Let's do it.
And they both have money because she is a doctor and he's a lawyer.
Right.
How about we get a little bit of antagonism there at the beginning where they're both bidding on the same item?
Yes.
And they're just like, oh no, 5 more here, or what? I don't know how, probably much higher sums. But anyways.
$12.
So in the end, $12 for the painting, please. And in the end, I'm going to say, I don't care who gets it, but I think they need to have a conversation after being like, hey, why were you so invested in this? Because I think that after a little while, the bids are getting to be like too high, but they're like, they're in it now.
They're locked in. I think Seth should win.
Okay.
And I think Seth should win because clearly he and Ben have family money, whereas Brooke, if canon, does also. But Brooke in this case does not. She's just like a regular doctor who, did it on her own, from a working class family. And so Seth wins this. They were, what were they bidding on? Maybe they were at like one of those like auctions where they like do like lifestyle stuff. So like a vacation to something. Right. And Brooke was betting on it because she's like, I get so little vacation time and like this worked out perfectly. And this was like the 2 weeks or like the 1 week I could get. And this, BITCH takes it because he can, and he doesn't even care. He's just like wanted to bid on something.
Right.
And then they kind of afterwards, she's just like annoyed. And he knows her. They have to know each other, right? Because he's her ex's brother.
I agree, but if he was super commitment phobic, would he have introduced her to his family?
Probably not. Ooh, good call. Yeah. Okay. So they don't know each other. Okay. I love that. Because otherwise it's psychotic. Like his dad.
Okay, what about okay, so how about this? And I know that this is like super unrealistic, but oh well, it's a book. So, how about the vacation is to the place where Nathan and Haley are doing their destination wedding? And so they're like, oh, cool. It'll just be, sorry, Brooke will be like, oh, cool. So then I'll just stay a little bit longer and already have like somewhere to stay and I'll get to
Oh,
relax
yes.
after the wedding.
Yes. And then it's like efficient too, because she doesn't have a lot of time off. So she's like,
Right.
ooh, this is very efficient for me.
And then Seth wins, so he goes, and that's why he's already at the destination wedding place, and they'll run into each other at the place,
Yes.
and she'll be like, look, I need someone. And she'll say that like my commitment phobic ex was there and he was so against like us ever even labeling us ourselves boyfriend girlfriend and now he's engaged and that's insane. Maybe she's like tipsy, they're at a bar somewhere, I don't know.
Yeah.
But she's
Yeah,
just
totally.
like word vomiting the issue to him and he's like, okay, I will be your fake date to this wedding. But anyways, I think that in the end they continue the vacation together.
Oh, absolutely. That's the epilogue. And also, what we could do is Seth could be like, his parents could be very on him. He's the older brother. And so his parents could be like, hey, your younger brother's engaged and like you are married to your job, bro. Like you need to like bring us a woman that you will like that we can like, have dinner with. And he's like
Yeah.
dreading this wedding because he's like, it's just going to be like, 24/7 stuck on an island with people who are like angry at me for like not having found a person. And so he's like
So wait,
done.
was he already going to this wedding,
Well,
to
wouldn't he
Haley
have?
and Nathan's wedding?
Well, if he's Nathan's brother. Wait, no, he doesn't know Nathan, does he? Oh no, you're
He's
right.
Ben's brother.
All right, fine. He
We can
wasn't
change
going.
it, but I don't think that.
Wait, how about he and Nathan work together?
Okay,
Nathan in the story is a lawyer. And
Nathan
they
is
work
also a
together.
lawyer.
Okay, and they
Slay.
work together. And so they end up at the same place. And
Yes.
this makes sense. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Cool. I'm here.
Okay, there you go. That works. Thank you. Plot holes. This wouldn't happen if it was his dad. But what?
Do you want us to change
No,
it and make
no,
Seth his dad?
no, no. Because now all I'm gonna think of is the dad in the OC, and I can't do that. Like you can't do that
Well,
to
he's
me.
hot,
He
so.
is hot. He is very hot. That is fair. Honestly, no, no, we're not gonna change it. So because Seth doesn't want to be hounded by like friends and stuff and
Right.
family friends. Let's say they're all family friends that she would have never met because Ben is commitment phobic.
Right.
They're all family friends, and they all get to this island, and Brooke and Seth are like, "Great, like we're gonna pretend to date because that's not psychotic at all." And then they get there and they're like, "Wait, like you're my brother's ex," but they're at this point they're already in it. Like they've said that they're dating. Like they can't like back out and be like, "Yeah, no, we're psychotic. We made a plan over drinks because." You people are crazy and we didn't want to deal with you for a week. And so they're like, okay, we're just going to go with it for like a week. We'll be like, we didn't know because we didn't. And we're just going to pretend we're dating. And then afterwards, we'll go our separate ways with our dignity intact.
That's right. Okay. Wait. Okay. We got to back up for a second because I got confused. So, okay. So now that Seth is also going to the wedding
Yes.
because he's Nathan's friend from work, I'm going to say that's why they were both bidding on the thing was to extend their trip. And
Yes.
I think that this auction involves alcohol. And so we're getting a little tipsy at the auction and overspending, which is their goal, of course, to make you spend more at the auction. So then, still at the auction, they're going to have this conversation where she's like, why is it so important to you? Like, I need this time off. Like, I will pay you the amount that you just paid to win the auction. But, like, I need that time off. And they make an arrangement to share the vacation if they both help each other with this ruse at the wedding.
I like that.
So then the first order of business for that is that Ben and his family and Seth are all going to have dinner before they go on the trip because I don't think it makes sense for Ben and Seth's family to be at Nathan's wedding. So before they go on the trip, he's like cashing in his favors now. He's like, okay, I will help you be your fake date for this whole wedding, but before we leave, I need you to come to this dinner with my family so that they think I'm dating someone.
Yeah.
So they go on that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
So they go on the family dinner, and then they're already locked in, and then they see Ben, and Ben is like, and Brooke is like,
So where is this? It's going to be a family dinner. It should be in a public place. Yeah.
yes,
So they're at a restaurant. And now I think we
right.
need like obviously it's awkward, but I think she should kind of like lean into it and be like, oh my God, like I could have never thought that you two are related. You're so different. Like Seth is so successful,
Ooh,
you know? Like you guys couldn't be more different. How could I possibly have known? And Seth is like trying to be a good brother, but also kind of like reveling in this because like his younger brother has always kind of been the social butterfly of the family and
right.
whatnot. And so this is the first time he's kind of felt like, like the cool one, right? Whereas he's always been successful, but not as like cool as his younger brother Ben. And now, he's kind of like cooler than his younger brother Ben. He's dating the girl that Ben used to date. And so like they're both kind of like leaning into a little bit. And, Brooke's kind of driving home the point that like, oh, I'm very successful and he's very successful. We make a lot of sense. And while they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of like one-upping each other, being like, we're so in love. No, we're in love. The parents are like eating this up because they're like, oh, good, like two weddings maybe.
Yes.
And so now they're kind of like digging themselves deeper into this we're together
Right.
situation, right? Because like with every question that Ben asks them about, how long have you been together? What's your backstory? And they're kind of like very quickly on the fly making stuff up. They are kind of creating this lore that his parents are just eating up.
Yeah.
And so now they're kind of in it where the lie is set and there's really no backing out. They find out that they're gonna be at this wedding together and they're like, oh, well, that's gonna be so fun. We're gonna stay an extra week afterwards because that's the whole reason they're there. And
Right.
we're so in love. And so it all sounds great at the dinner. And then they leave the dinner and they realize, like, oh, yeah, we have to be like very lovey dovey at this wedding too, because we just lied a lot to like
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
And so that's probably getting us to like what? That's like a quarter of the way in. Now we have to get to the wedding.
Yeah. And I'm going to say that the room arrangements are changing because of this, that originally they were supposed to be in different rooms, but because they've hammed this up so much and that they now have to put on this ruse in front of everyone, that they're now sharing a room. So we're going to add some forced proximity in there. There was only one bed.
Ooh, yes. You know what we should do? That could be a scene where like they get into hotel check-in together and Ben could be like, well, why do you have separate rooms? And
Yes.
they could make up like an excuse like, oh, we like to like sleep in one room, but like sex in another room. We do some crazy stuff. And so then like one day they have to like go into this other room that just like happens to be, sharing a wall with Ben's and just like shake the bed, like very like forgetting Sarah Marshall, where they're just like, no, we do some like crazy stuff that we cannot possibly sleep in that bed after. Right? It needs like an exorcism.
That's so funny. Yeah, love it. That's great. Okay,
Great.
so how are our characters going to get together now that they are on this wedding trip? And we've decided that the epilogue is that last week that they stay late. So they have to get together on this wedding time. And then people have to
Yes.
find out they were faking it.
Yeah, so I think they should figure out they were faking it like around the time of the reception. So like we have like
Okay.
let's do like a few if it's a destination wedding, usually we have a few days to like putz around the island and like do fun things. So we have like a couple of days where they're like scheduled tours of stuff. Like they go to a pineapple farm or something. I don't know. I'm imagining Hawaii and they have a lot of pineapples
Yeah,
there.
where are we?
We're in Hawaii. No, let's go. Yeah, let's go to Hawaii, I guess.
Sure.
It's a fun island. Okay, so they have
It's
like
several islands.
it is actually. Thank you.
Let's go somewhere else because Hawaii has asked that we not go to
Oh,
Hawaii.
this is true. This is true. They have asked that we not go, and we should respect that. Let's go somewhere closer. Then let's do a U.S. island or an island near
Yeah,
the
we could go
U.S.
Dominican Republic, we could do Puerto Rico, we could do anything.
Oh, yeah, let's go to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico's so beautiful,
Sure.
and
And
then
then
I
we get
can
to see the coquicos, the frogs.
and maybe in the epilogue we catch a Bad Bunny concert.
Heck yeah! Let's see Bad Bunny's performing at the wedding. Actually, everyone's so rich.
It is that level rich of a family.
He finishes the wedding and then goes and plays the Super Bowl.
The wedding was like his opening act.
Well, you don't get paid for the Super Bowl, so he has to supplement that with
That's true. Super Bowl is
something
just
he
an
gets paid
honor.
for. Yeah,
No, you should definitely get paid for that. It's like the reason I
you should
won. But
definitely
like
get paid.
so we need them to kind of like looking forward. I need them to have their conflict at like the reception, kind of like wedding or reception, right? We have to decide what we're doing to poor Haley and Nathan because this is their wedding.
It's okay. All their weddings go wrong, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
And so for the first like after they get to the hotel and they make all the crazy noises in their one hotel room, their sex room, they, the next morning they like pretend that they're sore, or maybe they actually are from like moving furniture.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And so like they're at like a pineapple plantation. Someone's like he's like hurt his shoulder, and she's like, yeah, it was a wild night. And I think that should be the time where they start kind of like figuring out like what each other's like little like soft spots are. Because like, one, he's his brother, so it is very awkward if they start falling for each other, and he's like kind of worried that she's still into his brother. So I think in that time we start figuring out that like the reason she was so hurt by Ben was not that like he, didn't want to commit to her. It was that she felt like because she always puts her career first and everything, no one would want to commit to her because she is too ambitious and like too all of these things that women kind of get knocked for unfairly. And on the same end, she finds out about him kind of feeling as though like he was always the one who had to be successful because his little brother kind of was like a screw up, but all of his success was primarily just kind of feels empty sometimes because it feels like a ladder you never stop climbing, right? And so it was easier to keep climbing the ladder than to look down and think about everything that he kind of left behind in doing so, right? And he didn't like to feed into the fact that his parents were like, you should get married because that's annoying. But like he does acknowledge that like, oh, I'm kind of lonely. It would be nice. But
Right.
acknowledging that and having to deal with that is scary and hard. And rather than deal with it, he made up a fake girlfriend that happens to be his brother's ex. And so, they find this out during, I guess, going through a pineapple farm. I don't know why I really like pineapples. I feel like they should be a part of
That's
this.
fine.
Like
The
pineapples with
welcome fruit.
like chili powder and like salt. Yes. Great. Great. Now that we've decided on that,
It's very important.
I will tell you 90% of the time when I'm writing a book, I'm like, what are they eating?
What's the food?
What's the food looking like today? Okay, so they find out they like each other, and they're just like they start having like kind of these like more like tense, like tension filled moments. And then one night they do it in, the not sex room because they're just like hanging out and it kind of happens naturally.
Right.
And so they kind of go from pretending to not pretending, which is convenient because they have to act like they're together anyway. As they start doing that, we have to figure out a way to kind of like not yank them apart, but like find something that stands in their way, right? Because right now it's like perfect, great, but perfect is boring. And so I kind of want Ben to figure out like something with like the timeline or something to be like, wait, you couldn't have possibly known each other like, in one of your crazy stories because like we were still together at that time or whatever.
Right.
And then Ben kind of like goes to his brother kind of maliciously, kind of under the guise of like, I'm a good brother, I'm telling you this. Being like,
Yeah.
no, we weren't even over when you had your, fake meet cute. That was like, I don't know, a cool fake meet cute. They ran into each other. They like switched coffee orders and then ran back. I don't know, something.
He like saved her from a bus crash or something crazy.
Or he saved her from like a taxi cab a la Wedding Planner, right? Like he
Okay.
like pulls her, he kind of like jumps in front of a taxi cab and like saves her. But Ben is like, wait, no, no, no. The day that, you know, that could have happened was actually a day where we were still together. Like she was cheating on me with you, and like you
Yeah.
shouldn't be with someone like
She
that.
cheated on us both.
Yeah, and like you should be angry. And they start trying to like think up of lies of like how to cover it up and and then just realize like that's not going to work. They have to kind of come clean. They're going to do that and ruin their friends' weddings, I guess.
Right. I like that being at the reception because I want one scene during the ceremony because she's the maid of honor that she's like up at the front and he's like in the stands in the chairs.
Yeah.
It's in 27 Dresses where they're like looking at each other. And I think that I want that scene where she's like up on the stage and looking at him and he's looking at her and they're all in love. And then Ben's like wheels are turning and he's like,
Yes.
wait a minute.
Yes. And then that doesn't like really like knock Seth off. Seth's like, okay, well, like clearly like you're mad, whatever. These were lies, right? Like I know she's not cheating on anyone because we're lying to everyone. But he gets kind of worried. I think he should if he's older brother, then he should be worried that like, why is this so like important to you? Like, is there something still that like you're engaged to somebody else? Like you should not still want this person. And so I think we ruined the reception with the brothers fighting.
Okay. I like it. Yeah.
And so like that kind of turns into a like, why do you even care? And it's not so much that Ben cares, but Ben has unresolved issues with his brother being perfect and Ben being seen as like the imperfect younger sibling. And Seth kind of has issues of being like, I always had to be perfect because you suck, like,
Yeah.
and now that I'm finally happy, you're trying to take it away from me when like all you've ever done is like flit through life, get the, whatever girl you wanted. Like you've had it easy, I've had it hard. And then Ben feels the same way. And rather than talk about it, these are men. And so they don't know how to have productive conversations together. So they're going to hit each other. And so we have a fight at the reception. Brooke and Nathan and Haley are like, what did we do to this? Like,
Yeah, they're like, bro.
we are just high school sweethearts that just want to have our wedding, man. So finally, Nathan and his best man, Lucas, pull them apart.
His best man and half brother, Lucas.
And they pull them apart, and Ben kind of like stomps off. And rather than go to Seth, Brooke decides to go to Ben because she is like, I can't keep lying. Clearly, this is a problem. And like, I like Seth. Like, I don't want this to end with Seth. And so, like, I need to come clean to Ben and let him know what happened and like not let him ruin. And like, in this time they're spending together, he's realizing like Ben and Peyton are good together. And like, like this like petty jealousy was more so out of being angry that he had gotten to a place in life that she hadn't, right? And she's kind of used to being very successful. And in this area of life, she's not successful. And so she kind of comes clean to Ben. Seth kind of like comes back in and they decide like, okay, this is real now. And then we float into the epilogue with the vacation that they fought over.
I love it. If we don't have to have a third act breakup, but if you want a third act breakup, I think that what would work well for that is that Ben starts to realize that the timeline doesn't add up. And yes, he is going to eventually confront his brother about it, because that's like him wanting to help his brother. But I think that before that, he'll go to Brooke and be like, hey, like something about like, I think you're just interested in us, or like you're just interested in people who remind you of me, and like we weren't working out kind of thing. But anyways, I think he's gonna hit on her. Seth, I have to look at their names. Seth is going to like see and be like, oh, no, what's going on there? Are they getting back together or whatever? And the answer is no. And Ben isn't even into her like that, but he just cannot stand his brother having something that's his.
Yes.
And those of you listening, I'm making air quotes around his. And so I think that Ben is going to try to hook up with Brooke, or even just kiss her, just to get back at his brother. But she's going to say no, they're not going to kiss, nothing's going to happen. He is not cheating on Peyton physically. And that is swept away eventually. But that's like a source of tension.
Oh, does that incite the fight?
Oh, maybe that
so then incite the fight. Because if they're older, then like all we have to give them is 3 minutes, and they would just be like, I wasn't, nothing happened, right? So like I think what needs to happen is if everyone's at the reception and a couple of drinks in, and he happens upon this, right? And his first reaction is usually big older brother, like responsible guy, like I'm just gonna like talk to him. But he's had a couple of drinks and he is like kind of fed up with his little brother always kind of like getting his way, being the like lovable fuck up. And so for the first time in his life, he kind of like reacts the way he's not supposed to react.
Right.
And like takes a swing at his little brother. I don't know.
Wait, I love that. And that's when Ben is going to say, well, it doesn't matter if she was dating us at the same time. Like,
I'm doing you a favor.
Timeline.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
perfect. In front of everyone.
In front of everyone.
In front of everyone.
So Nathan and Lucas pull them apart. They've had their fight. And I think that they'll have to have a talk later to sort of reckon with Ben and Seth disliking each other for different reasons, or holding grudges against each other for reasons that aren't really themselves, that are how their family perceives them and pushes them together.
Yeah.
But I think that it'll be a very short conversation between Brooke and Seth where she's like, no, nothing happened. Like, I'm only interested in you and I'm not interested in him. Maybe I was never interested in him and I was just sad and lonely. But I like you. Maybe and I love you. They've only known each other for like 2 weeks.
Probably not. Well, what we could do is if we want to do the third act breakup, then after that fight that gets pulled apart, Seth goes to talk to Brooke, and Brooke kind of decides to like bow out. She's like, look, I can't be this person that like puts a wedge between brothers. Like, I wanted a date to like a wedding, so it wasn't alone here. And like this spun way out of control, right? From the second we got to dinner with your parents and we found out that you and Ben are, brothers. Or I'm dating my ex's brother. And this whole thing has kind of gotten out of control. And we've just kind of been letting it get out of control, like making the lies bigger and bigger. And she's like, I don't want to be a part of this. This isn't my goal is not to like be the person that pulls apart, brothers and stuff.
Mhm.
It was fun in the beginning, but now it's like this is insidious, right? Because they're adults too. So a part of me is like,
Right.
is like a 28-year-old or 30-year-old going to act this way? Probably some people might, but like two very successful people, I think, have at least enough level head to be like, this is bad. So I
Yeah.
think she would be the one to be like, this is bad. And like, I don't want to be this like wedge between you and your brother. You guys got to work some stuff out, but like I can't be a part of it. So they go kind of like after the reception, they're on like separate ways. They're all still on the island together. There's a brunch probably the next morning. So she sleeps in like I guess the like fake sex room or the room they
Yeah, they
have.
get to go to their own bedrooms.
Yeah, they all go to their own bedrooms now. I see in my head her going to a room where all the furniture is like fucked up. Right? And she's like, "All right, we did this." And she's just kind of like sad, but she's like, "I'm going to be an adult here because I've been acting like a child for like 2 weeks, right? Or however long this has been." And so she's just kind of like sad, blah blah blah. And then after the reception, I think that's when Ben and Seth talk, like actually talk like brothers, and Ben be like, "Hey, like you seem to really like her. You've only known her a little while. Like this seems like something you should pursue." And so it gives us some character growth for Ben, who up until now has been very childish, like
Mhm.
him being an adult, and being like, hey, you are my big brother. I want you to be happy. And you seem to be happy, even if you guys were like faking it. And Seth is like, yeah, like I do want that too. And then so he's just like, okay, go then, make it happen. Right. And so we do need a grand gesture of some sort because I love a grand gesture. It doesn't have to be super grand, but I think it should be something cute.
I was gonna stage a fake auction that she's getting invited to, where he like
So
auctions
elaborate
himself
with Bad Bunny,
with Bad Bunny.
musical guest Bad Bunny.
But what were you gonna say? What's your grand gesture?
Was gonna say whatever meet cute they staged, they said some crazy wild meet cute in the beginning. Whatever meet cute that was, like getting hit by a taxi, they recreate it here on the island. Or something where
Oh,
something
cute.
happens where like it happens kind of the same way. That or like he like jumps in front of a cab and is like, I need you to talk to me, and like I'm gonna get hit by this cab unless you do. Like, or something kind of like silly and crazy. That kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
harkens back to how they pretended to meet.
I like
um,
that.
and and then they talk, they get back together, and they spend another week on the island.
Slay.
And we got to have brothers. Like this story has all the things I need in a story. Too much money. Um, like really shitty family dynamics. Like I love a terrible family. And then like locations that don't make a lot of sense, but like here we are, right? Like because there's too much money. There's so much money they have nothing better to do than to go to places. So in this story, it's Bad Bunny's performing everywhere.
With musical guest Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny everywhere.
They spent millions of dollars on Bad Bunny performances throughout
On
this book.
on this wedding that they ruin.
Yeah.
All the things. Great. The end.
The end.
Bestseller.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it.
Let's turn it into a TV show.
I think it would make a good TV show
Yeah,
or
it
like
would
a
be
movie.
like a really like I love this. I think like my favorite like subgenre of any romance book is like one that's like very messy. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
just love it when people are just behaving badly. Like I love a good like cathartic like adults acting like adults, but I really prefer it when adults act like children.
When you said messy and then earlier you were like, and she sleeps with his father, I was like, you made a fool of death with your beauty, which is a fantastic book.
Absolutely. So all I'm saying, I am definitely the person that's like, if you were like, oh, I liked a book, but like the characters are childish. I'm like, what book is this?
Tell me. I want to read it. I want them to be childish.
I love the drama. I like live for the drama. Like I love when people are like, oh, is it like a really like toxic book? And I'm like, give it to me. Give me. I want toxic. Give it to me.
You just want the chaos.
I'm like a chaos gremlin. I'm like, yes, give it to me. Give me all the chaos.
What would you say is the most chaotic thing that happened in Poison Ivy?
I mean, honestly, Melina's whole setup is pretty chaotic.
Yeah, Malina is living a double life, so that's pretty chaotic.
She's like she is a chaos gremlin as well. For listeners who, I mean, this probably haven't read Poisoned Ivy yet. Melina, the lead in Poisoned Ivy, is living a double life by having two phones because her location settings have to be on one, and so she kind of like switches them out very like quickly and easily. She's gotten so used to kind of moving them around so that she can kind of control where her parents think she is. So I think the most chaotic thing she does is like go on a trip without them knowing about it, right? These are very like
Oh my God,
controlling
yeah.
people. She goes on a trip. She is the girl that goes to Paris because she gets an
Sh-
opportunity to go on a trip and she's like, yes,
She internationally travels with her boyfriend that her family doesn't know about.
that her
Love.
family does not know about. Her family thinks she's like tucked away at her like on campus housing or condo near campus. When in actuality, she's in Paris and that girl is like checking her phone, like figuring out the time differences in her head, like thinking about like, oh, I have to be awake in case like a call gets forwarded to this phone, right? And like I got to think of places to take this call. And that is like a level of chaos that she has normalized. And she's like, this is fine. This is
Yeah, this is
normal.
just very normal.
This is very normal. And I think that is probably the most chaotic thing she does, all while like pretending that like none of this is happening.
Okay, so I like to finish every episode by getting some book recs from you. So we already talked about last time what your favorite book of all time is, but what would you say was your most recent favorite read?
I don't know if this is my favorite read. This is my on the brain because it like makes me chuckle. And you told me about the ghost thing earlier, but I just read Nisha Sharma's Dark Ghost Romance, and it's not funny, but it keeps making me giggle because it reminds me of Scary Movie. Scary Movie 2 when like she has sex with a ghost because someone has sex with a ghost. Spoiler alert. It's called Now You See Him. Yeah, this one's definitely darker. But that I love Nisha. That is probably not my favorite read recently, but it's definitely like a really like fun one. I thought it would be scary because she was like, it's horror. And I'm like, I was like terrified. I was like, I'm gonna read it during the daytime. But yeah, no, it is fun and it's ghost sex. I think my last read was Honey and Heat is a workplace romance. I love a workplace romance. And it has family dynamics too. It's like the heiress to a company. That's my bread and butter. And the like a new kind of like young upstart that's basically brought in to be the second in command to her father, right? So she sees kind of like as an immediate threat to her own power. And they kind of butt heads for a long time. And then, eventually the tension breaks. And then other stuff happens. I'm not going to spoil the book, but that was a really fun one. And it came out last month. Or no, earlier this month. So it's out. Honey and Heat. And I did read about a quarter of a way into Nisha's new fantasy, the YA fantasy, Illusions of Fire. Very good. It's based on like Hindu mythology, but in the
Hmm.
diaspora, so like not in India, which is really cool. I mean, like there's Indian people everywhere. And so like I've always grown up in the diaspora in the States. And so it's nice for me to like see because I am not used to whenever I think of like Hindu mythology, you think of India, obviously, because that's where it originated. So it's very cool. And it's a fantasy.
What would you say is the book that you are looking forward to coming out the most in the next year or so?
Ooh, I have a few, but I think I'm really looking forward to Grace Riley has Yes Chef coming out, and it's like a social media influencer and a grumpy chef, and it's very giving the bear vibes, and I love
Uh-huh.
the bear, and so I'm very much that's like next year though, but I'm looking forward to that.
So your newest book, Poisoned Ivy, is going to be it's going to be indie published, so it comes
Yes.
out on Friday. And then you have also had your Biotech Billionaire series was originally indie published and then was traditionally published before the last one. The last two came out, right?
The last one. So it was indie published for the first two and then picked up by Trad and we traditionally published the last one.
Okay. And what would you say are like the big differences in that process, the writing process? Because you also have more trad pub contracts coming.
Yes. So my next trad is in May of next year. And I think the biggest difference between indie and trad for me is more timeline than anything else. Timeline and like control, right? So for my indie published book, like I have complete control of this cover, right? Like this was all out of my brain. Whereas, and not that it's a bad thing, but whereas in trad, usually it's kind of decisions by committee, right? It takes a
Mhm.
lot longer and you're making a lot more decisions kind of as compromises rather than you being like the last and final decision, which is a great thing and also not a great thing. Like it's kind of like what you like. And the biggest thing is timeline for me. Editorially, most of my books go through the same process regardless of if it's traditionally or indie published. So they sound the same, but the biggest difference for me is like how it's put together, what the package looks like at the end. And indie publishing also gives you a lot more in terms of like freedom for if you want an audiobook in a specific way. So like with my trad pubs, I was given a list of like narrators that were great and I got to pick what I wanted. And it was in dual narration. But with my indie published book, I get to do it in duet. And so it's like a different kind of like narration experience. It's a different audiobook experience. And I get to be the person who makes kind of like the final call. And so they both have their benefits. I mean, indie publishing, you are the final call. So you are constantly bogged down with like little hiccups, you know? Like my life these last 2 weeks have been little hiccups. And so you're just kind of like, it is exhausting in that regard, but I do like it. I think it kind of like scratches the like overly controlling itch I have. And so like I can be like hyper controlling with my indie pubs and kind of like let go and let God with the trad pubs because they've got it all under control. And I know they get annoyed with all the emails. Like they're very kind and they don't act like they ever get annoyed. But I'm like, I've emailed you 14 times about this cover. Like you have to be pissed.
So, what would you say that there's any difference in writing timeline? Because you said that you already have the galleys out for a book that's coming out in May for TradPub. Do you usually have your book like almost completely finished 7 months prior to release?
Yeah. So I write pretty fast. My editorial time takes a lot longer, but like my final like kind of like submission to a publisher versus like my final submission in indie land is about the same. So like I finish a title, writing it, revising it, editing it, and like the finish line for trad is like handing it in for copy edits, right? And the finish line for my like stuff is handing it in to be recorded. And
Mhm.
that needs to be done like on an indie timeline months in advance.
Okay.
And so usually the writing time and the editorial time is about the same. All my books go through the same process too. So like I, regardless of if it's an indie or a trad book, have private editors that I've always used and like I really trust with my work. And so regardless of if this is going to a trad house or if this is going to be an indie work, I go through the same editors. I go through the same like development process. And the only difference is kind of the proofreading stage. The trad pub will do my proofreading for a book if it's their book, like on contract, or I'll have my own proofreader do my proofreading for an indie pub. That's really the only difference between like the works, like the stories themselves. Everything else then it's timeline. Trad just goes on a longer timeline. And so like I hand in a book and it'll come out the year after. Whereas indie, when I finish a book, usually a couple weeks later it's going to record and about like 5 months later it'll release. So it's just kind of like timeline stuff.
Okay, cool. And then who is slash are your writing inspirations?
Ooh, that's a good one. Currently, I am trying to write more like emotion. I'm trying to be like from a craft perspective, a more emotional writer, and kind of like dig into like the parts that like really like kind of like pull your heart. So I've been reading a lot of the more kind of like angsty like greats. So like I am trying to do what Kennedy Ryan kind of like does with like what I feel like is ease. It's like a surgical precision that she has with kind of just like dropping like little tiny like almost like landmines in a person's soul, right? And then just kind of like hitting them at the right time, right? And so
Mhm.
it's like very very like subtle as it happens and then like but you can see it happening, right? And so like by the time there is a really like emotionally wrought scene, like you're already kind of like primed to have a reaction to it, right?
Yeah,
And so like I have been kind of studying how she sets her books up. Because like she can always like I if I want to cry, I can pick up one of her books and like I know I will, you know.
I agree.
And so she does it with like such a surgical precision that like I want to be able to do that. And like also like cuz I think you can like, kind of like not hurt a reader but like really get them like emotionally like drained. But then also you kind of have to like do the work of like giving them a hug after to be like it's going to be
Yes,
okay. And I think that is also like a really like hard skill to learn or like one you need to like really like work on your craft to learn how to like properly like end something that's been really emotionally taxing. And so that is kind of like my goal in the like writing in general is to like be more like surgical with how I kind of like draw emotion out of the reader.
cool. And then, do you have any advice for aspiring writers? And if not, what is the best advice someone gave to you?
I think my advice is the best advice I ever got. So like I like to tell people this, but readers can tell like when you don't like the book you're writing. And so like not that it's a bad book, but like the books in comparison to the books you loved writing, like there is a difference and like readers can feel that difference. And so it's always been like the advice I've always gotten is like write the book you want to write. Because if you don't write the book you want to write, you're going to write a book that's like not as good as it could be because you are stuck on something else. right?
Mhm.
And I think all writers have this time where they're like, I want to get better at this part of craft or whatnot, but like they get to a book that they just like cannot stop writing. And like you can feel that as you read it. And so I say, especially to like new writers or like writers that are about to debut or want to like write their debut novel, like write the book you want to write, like as you want to write it. Like, you're going to have to get it edited 1,000 times before it's ready, but write the one that like kind of like makes your heart sing, the one that you could read back 1,000 times and never be bored. That's the book that like will do well because you put yourself into it, like your heart into it. And I don't know how to like explain it otherwise, but like that is definitely like the best advice I got. And I remember being like, that's dumb. And thinking like, no, I'll be fine. And then like I realized like there is like a certain joy you have when you write books that you love. And then like it comes through on page.
Right. I think that that's totally true. I think you can definitely tell when it's like a work of heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was If It Was a Book. If you liked what you heard, feel free to drop us a rating or a review to tell us what you liked and what you want to see in future episodes. If you would like to submit a story for the chance to have it rewritten by one of our guests, you can do so by emailing your memory to ifitwasabook@gmail.com. You can follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at If It Was a Book. You can follow me, the host, on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Wicked Reads, which is also where our video episodes are. And then, Ava, where can readers and listeners find you?
I'm on all of the social media. It's author Ava Rani, so you can find me there.
And then your newest book, Poison Ivy, comes out on October 17th.
Yeah.
We have new episodes out every Monday. As always, video episodes are available on YouTube, and audio is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening. Bye.